Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be smoking some USDA prime grade brisket. Stay tuned. Alright, so this video is a Easter special brisket. Now, it can be for any holiday, but it just so happens that Easter is coming up, and I wanted to show you guys the steel that I found at Walmart. Let me pan down here. Alright, so as you guys, if you've seen my channel before, you know that I like to cook a lot of briskets. I was walking by Walmart, and I found this gem. The reason I say it's a gem is because as you know, there's three levels or three grades of brisket. There's choice, there's select, and then there's prime. Prime being your highest end that you can find at a grocery store. The main difference between all three of them is basically going to be the price and the quality of meat. Those are the two main differences. Now, normally you don't want a lot of fat in your meat when you're buying it because you're buying more fat than meat. But when it comes to beef, when it is labeled or when it is classified as prime, this is actually good. And how is it classified as prime? It's classified as prime, let me see if I can zoom in here, because within the layers of the meat itself, you're gonna notice little fat pockets, little fat in between the grains. That's something called marbling. The more you have the meat and the fat combined here, the better it is and the higher grade it is given. So because there's a lot of fat trapped in between the meat here, this was given the classification as prime. Why is this important? It's important because when you're cooking it, this fat will dissolve during the cook, and it'll actually tenderize and make it a little bit softer than your regular cuts of meat. All right, now why is this a steal? This is a steal because I went to Walmart. I was looking around, you know, trying to stock up with the essentials, and I came across this one. And at first glance, you look at the price per pound. I paid $2.46 a pound. You look at it and you say, hey, that's the average that a brisket is going for, but that's the average price right now for the lower grade. So when I saw this price and this classification, I just had to take it. So I took it. I actually froze this brisket because I bought it about 2-3 weeks ago. I actually froze it because I didn't want it to go bad. You can freeze a brisket for months before you want to actually cook it if you find a good deal like this. Now, there's a process. I took this brisket out 2 days ago. I put it in my refrigerator from the freezer, and this morning when I got up, it was still a little solid from the thick end. So what I did is I let it out for another 12 hours on its own at room temperature, and it's still very cold, and it's pretty much already all defrosted. All right, so this was a very easy buy for me because of the fact that when you have your three grades, there's about a 50 cent to $1 a pound difference between the lowest grade and your prime. So when you can find a prime labeled meat at the lower end price, take it. Even if you have to freeze it and unfreeze it before you're gonna do it, I would recommend you take it. All right, this one I found at Walmart. It was like, again, I was very surprised, so I took it. So this is a brisket that I'm gonna be using today. All right, so making a brisket is not overly complicated. It just takes patience. So step one, I would recommend that you get yourself some type of container like this. I bought this one at Academy. It is very good because I can use my rub. I can rub it. I can apply the rub over the meat without really making that big of a mess on my counter. So step one, remove the meat from the package. Okay, so step two, get your favorite seasoning, your rub, whatever you're gonna use, because this will be going on overnight. You will season it and then put it in your refrigerator overnight. I personally like Rudy's rub. This is not a promotion. They haven't paid me to do this. I just really like their rub. So I'm gonna apply this rub over the brisket. Right, so the next step in the process now, well, now that you've rubbed it, you've put on your rub, you want to get some foil paper or however you're going to store this. I use, as much as possible, the heavy duty aluminum foil paper whenever possible. So I'm just going to cover this up. Alright, so the last step in the process now is to actually put it in the refrigerator and let it marinate overnight. For those of you who are following my channel, you know that my cold smoker attachment, for the best that it does really good. My on and off switch just totally messed up on me. I actually took it apart because it wouldn't turn on anymore, and this is the piece that I need to replace. So I'm actually in the process of trying to get this replaced, but because this is not working, I'm still gonna use a cold smoker attachment, but I'm gonna use it old school way, which means I'm gonna be making sure that the fire doesn't go out. And that's gonna be a little bit tougher, but it's still worth it. All right, so I'm gonna use this tumbleweed. I did insert a couple of meat probes. The one that comes with the actual smoker itself is here, and then I actually have an additional one over here that I stuck in afterwards. The reason that I put my brisket with the fat side up, I know there's a great debate on whether fat side up or fat side down. The reason I put it fat side down, fat side up, and the thickest part to the heat source is one, you always want to put your brisket on the side where the heat is going to be coming out of, which is on this side. All right, and two, the reason that I put it fat side up is because I want to try to get a crust on my actual brisket. I don't want it to be soft like if I did it inside in the oven. So in order to do that, I want the meat part, the lean part, and I have the meat to be exposed to the actual brisket itself as much as possible throughout the whole cook. The next thing I want to do is I want to set the temperature for my actual smoker. This one has a Bluetooth enabled remote. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to set the temperature. I'm going to bring it down to 220. And then I'm going to put the timer. I usually put 24 hours. Why? Because I know I'm going to end up taking it out before, but just so that it doesn't turn off on me, 24 hours. So that right there started my actual smoker. Alright guys, just want to give you guys a quick status update. Rule of thumb is 4 hours for your brisket to reach 140, and after that it will not pick up any more smoke or take in any more smoke. But it's a rule of thumb. It doesn't necessarily mean 4 hours on the dot, because I don't know if you guys recall, but at the beginning of the video I just started my smoker and I left it at 24 hours. So if we do the math here, it's been 19 hours and 25 minutes left, which means that this smoke, I've been smoking for about a little over 4.5 hours. If I look at my internal temp of my internal temp indicator here, it tells me that it's at about 135. The internal temp is about 135. But what I did also do is I also inserted the meat probe for the actual smoker itself, and when I click on that one, it tells me it's already at 145. That once you hit the 140 or you're comfortable with it, you can pretty much go to sleep and wake up in the morning 8-10 hours later, and you shouldn't have a problem. So at this time, what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to go in here and I'm going to give my chips, whoa, that's hot, a little shake just to rile them up a little bit. I would recommend going in here with a, you can buy yourself a bottle, a spray bottle, and add some apple cider vinegar to that spray bottle. What you're gonna do then is that you're gonna open up your smoker and you're gonna spritz your brisket with apple cider vinegar every 30 minutes to an hour for about 2 or 3 hours. What that's gonna do is that's gonna give it, it's gonna retain the moisture on the inside, and it's also gonna create a nice little bark to it. So if you are the type that likes a brisket with a nice tough bark on it, that would be your next step to do. For the next 3 or 4 hours after the 4 hours, spritz it every 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or every hour until you're liking the way the color is. But other than that, that should be good to go. I will get back with you guys when I'm ready to pull this brisket out in the morning. Alright guys, welcome back. We are at the very tail end of our smoking process here for my brisket. I did start this brisket yesterday, and I did start it with, was it 24 hours on the clock? Now there's about 7 hours left, which if you do the math, it's about 17 hours worth of smoking. I did end up getting it to the temperature I wanted to get it. I wanted to get it at about 195. It's right now it's about 194. And if I look at the other meat probe, let me see if I can, it's 195 there, and it's 194, so we're good. Now the next step here is to go ahead and you're gonna pull this brisket out. You're gonna wrap it in foil paper and put it in an ice chest for about 2 hours. But let's see how this puppy came out after about 17 hours of slow cooking at 220. Oh, look at that. Let me see if I can grab it. Son of a biscuit, it's hot. All right. Yeah, but look at all that color. That looks nice. So I'm gonna pull this brisket out. I'm gonna wrap it, let it sit for 2 hours. Another tip that I will give you is, I just did this before I started recording. During these 2 hours that you're waiting for your brisket to rest and start absorbing all those juices back into the middle part of it, I would suggest if you're gonna make sausage or something, this is the time to put in your sausage, let it smoke for about 2 hours while your brisket rests. But I'll see you guys when I'm ready to cut this baby up. Alright guys, so we're at the very end of the cook. I did let my brisket rest for about 2 hours. So now I'm pulling it out of the actual ice chest that I put it in. I'm gonna unwrap it. I know because of the way this meat was placed that this is the fat part, so I can kind of remove the fat part of it. Alright, you always want to do the bend test on your brisket. If it bends when you put it on your finger, that means it's nice and soft. Now, just to put into perspective, this is the lean part of the brisket. So if anything is going to be dry or stiff, it'll be this part. But if you're already getting a bend test on your actual lean part, that tells you that it's a really good piece of meat. Look, it's coming off. Look at how tender that is. It has a little bark to it. It probably has a little bite to it. Let me cut one more piece. You always want to cut against the grain. Whenever you're cutting your brisket, make sure you find the grain and cut against it. But other than that, just cut your brisket up and enjoy. All right, this has been the Easter edition of the Smoking Beard Brisket, Smoking Brisket. If you like my channel, please go ahead and like and subscribe so that we can keep you up with the latest and greatest. But once again, this has been the Smoking Beard. Thank you guys for watching. Oh yeah, that's good, man. Yeah, this is good. You know, a little smoke ring and everything. Alright guys, see you guys later.